Wrapping up, let's go back all the way up to the big picture of how safe is safe enough. Well, you need to be safe enough to deploy, and that's going to have to address the following factors. By the way, don't forget Safety While You're Public Road Testing, SAE J3018, is a standard for public road testing safety that everyone should be following. And the decision to do road testing is also a kind of a deployment decision. But in terms of deploying without a driver in the car, you have to realize that acceptable safety is more than just a risk number. It's not just some number you pick out of the average fatalities per mile. You need a good baseline human driver to compare against that is apples to apples for your particular deployment, and you need to add a safety factor for unknowns because there will be unknowns. You also should be following safety and security industry engineering standards. Why? Because that also helps you manage the risk of the unknowns. You also need to address the ethical and stakeholder concerns. So it's not just the number. You have to handle all these aspects of safety if you really want to be safe enough to deploy. This isn't going to happen without a written safety case. You need a transparent argument based on evidence to get all this stuff straight. It's not just drive around in a simulator, count up how many crashes you had and declare the number good enough. You have to really think about all these factors and have something written down that other folks can understand so you can communicate why they should believe you're safe enough to deploy. You're also going to need to do lifecycle uncertainty management via feedback. There will always be unknowns, and even if there aren't unknowns, there will be, but even if there aren't, the world's going to change out from under you. So you're going to need lifecycle feedback using safety performance indicators. Back to the number one ethical issue. Who decides when to deploy based on what is the number one ethical issue? And all the things above that line in this slide should be under consideration to decide when it's time to deploy. The stakeholders, not just the people with a financial interest in the company succeeding, but the other people sharing the road and the regulators, everyone needs to be involved in setting the safety criteria and ideally making the decision, because it may be the company with its investment on the line, but everyone else using the road is also being put at risk by this technology. It needs to be done thoughtfully, transparently, and with safety as top of mind. The safety culture is the last piece. A strong safety culture means that if there's a problem, people can say there's a problem and it will be resolved. That needs to be strong because otherwise you're not going to have fair dealing with all the stakeholders in making this decision. If you're going to deploy, you need to deal with all these things to have a safe enough AV deployment.